There is a moment in our history that fundamentally changed the Catholic Church, that broke from tradition in a way that left the Church unrecognizable from what it once was. And no, it was not 1962 with the Second Vatican Council, nor was it 1517 with the Protestant Reformation, or even 1054 with the split between East and West. As much as these events represent a major shift in the practice of the Church, and were the cause of much upheaval in their time, the fundamental essence and mission of the Church were left relatively unchanged by them. There was conflict, maybe a different style or focus emerged, but it remained essentially the same Church. The same cannot be said about the changes that occurred to the Church in the 4th century, particularly in the year 313. If there was ever a betrayal of the gospel, if there was ever a moment in which the Church fundamentally changed its understanding of self and mission in the world, this was the time. And the crazy thing about it was that it was probably welcomed as a great thing for Christianity. I do not believe that it was, and think that it actually reveals a fundamental flaw in how the Church has operated since that moment, including the dangerous mistakes that many Christians continue to make in politics today. But don't worry, I have a solution. For those who are not church history buffs, the year 313 probably doesn't mean much. Even if you know what I'm referring to, the conclusion I'm getting to may not be obvious. So let me explain. For the first 2.5 centuries of the Church, Christians were a weak, often persecuted minority in the Roman Empire. We all know of the extreme examples of this, things like being thrown to the lions, but even in more peaceful times, Christians were at best overlooked. For many years, the Church existed, both figuratively and literally, underground. Christians woke early in the morning to gather not only because society did not make accommodations for them, but because they were afraid to draw attention to themselves. By and large, they did not hold positions of authority or rise in prominence in society. They were meek and faithful in the midst of a harsh, unwelcoming world. Christianity in the first few centuries was something that required tremendous faith and dedication. It spread through humble witness, and it flourished despite the conditions. And then one day, in the year 313, everything changed in an instant. Emperor Constantine promulgated what is called the Edict of Milan, declaring that Christianity was now a legal, protected religion. All persecution must cease. No longer forced to live in the shadows, Christian life became a lot easier, being able to practice the faith without the constant fear of martyrdom. Not only that, but Constantine himself, as well as a number of successive emperors over the next few decades, were Christians, meaning that at the time, the most powerful person in the world was a Christian. But it didn't stop there. In the year 380, Emperor Gratian declared the Christianity of the Council of Nicaea to be not just the only legal form of Christianity, but the only legal religion allowed to be practiced in Rome. What do you think that did to Christianity? From 313 to 380, it went from being illegal to having emperor support to being mandated. What do you think happened to the weak, often persecuted minority group? Simply put, they rose to power and they began to use it. In the span of just 1 century, Christians went from refusing to serve in the military under pain of death to running armies. They went from hiding in catacombs to building enormous cathedrals, from living in fear that the authorities would inflict violence against them to root them out, to being the ones using violence on heretical groups to root them out. In some ways, power and authority naturally fell to the Church and was not sought after, particularly after the Roman Empire crumbled. The popes, being Christ-centered men, served as moral leaders and diplomats, holding society together in the absence of a working civil government. For this, the Church should obviously be lauded. But in other ways, you cannot deny the opportunism that was exercised by the popes and the effect that it had on even the most well-intentioned of men. Think about the type of person who wants to be pope when it means having a target on your back, when 31 of the first 35 popes were martyred for their faith. Compare that to who wants to be pope when it means living in a palace, serving as a diplomat to foreign nations and commanding armies. There is no doubt that this is going to attract a different type of person, and that even the holiest, most humble men are going to be tempted by that much power at their fingertips. Which is not to say that good things can't be done with it. I'm not denying the fact that the Church has used its power for incredible things over the years. Serving the poor, building transcendent cathedrals, brokering peace, maintaining unity, enacting laws to reflect Christian values, founding schools, funding missions to spread the gospel to foreign lands. So much in Western society owes a debt of gratitude to the influence of the Church. But my question is, at what cost? What was lost when the leaders moved further and further away from a life of the Beatitudes, when they forgot what it was like to be poor and meek? Was it due to your faith when you don't have to rely on God to survive? You can build the world however you want it to be. To me, power is antithetical to the gospel. Jesus did not come to assert his dominance. He did not force people to believe in him or win people over with wealth or influence. He was not revered because he sat on a throne and commanded armies. At the heart of the gospel is the fact that God gave up his power in heaven, was born a peasant, and freely died. The fundamental symbol of Christianity, what gives us life and meaning, is not a sword or money or throne, but the cross, an instrument of torture and death. It should be a constant reminder to us that the path to everything we want does not come from amassing power to assert our values. It comes from humble sacrifice and complete trust in God. The problem I see with so much of church history after the 4th century, and what I see Christians continuing to get wrong in politics today, is the false idea that we need power to spread the gospel. That if we just had a little more money, just a little more influence, we could make the world a more Christian place. It is an approach to evangelization from above that thinks that we can force people to be good, we can mandate the faith, we can transform the world by controlling it, and so ends up being focused almost entirely on gaining power. It is an approach to the gospel that scoffs at the weakness of the cross because it refuses to be weak itself. I hope that you see that this is utterly foolish. I hope that you see that this is not the mindset of God, but the mindset of the world. People throughout church history and currently acting in politics are using the name of Jesus to expand the influence of the church while not living the values of Jesus. The way of the kingdom is not from above. It is always from below. It is from being humble servants who attend to the poor and live the Beatitudes. It is from practicing the virtues of patience and forgiveness, showing mercy to even our enemies. It is about being a leaven that transforms the world around us, a small seed that grows large enough to provide shade for all in need. It is about realizing that no amount of human power could ever match the power of Christ, and that the only way to attain this sort of power is in being weak so that he can be strong. The reason, I think, that so few people are attracted to Christianity today is because they see Christians trying to spread the gospel through power. Even if they're not experts in the faith, they know that something is off. They look at us and they look at Jesus and they know that this just isn't right. I'm telling you, if we really want to make an impact on this world, if we want to transform our political landscape, grow our churches, build the kingdom of God here on earth, it must be from below. Humility, poverty, meekness, sacrifice, mercy, forgiveness. These are the ways we become successful. This is how we must begin to live. Luckily, in somewhat of an ironic fashion, it doesn't seem like we're going to have much of a choice pretty soon. As the world becomes more and more secular and the church loses more and more of its power, our place in society is beginning to reflect the situation of the early church once again. While some are mourning the loss of Christendom and fighting to maintain power wherever they can, I think the loss of power might actually be the very thing that saves us. If we want to truly do the work of God, we must give up our influence, stop trying to build kingdoms, and focus on the cross. If it was good enough for Jesus, it is good enough for us.